Welcome back, Tigercast fans, to our very first training report video for 2025. Now, up front, I always give credit where people post things that we can redistribute to all the Tiger fans out there. So, McLuggages, who's actually a Brisbane Lions supporter, posted on the Richmond BigFooty forum today that he was at training this morning. I think he might have been attending the tennis later on, but stopped by Punt Road. So it wasn't an open training session, but was able to look through the fence. And he posted one of the greatest training reports that we've had on the board for quite some time. And it was really good because being a non-Richmond supporter, it actually comes with no preconceived views or no biases or anything like that. So it was really interesting to see his notes. So I want to give a shout out to McLuggages from the Brisbane Lions BigFooty board, first and foremost, for your post. Greatly appreciated. So we thought we'd share the love and read out what McLuggages put on the board. So I'll just read the dot points out, then we'll make some comments afterwards. The forward group trained right in front of him. It was a drill where one of the keys wrestled with the coach and tried to bring the ball to front and centre to the coming forwards. Tom Lynch seemed to train fully unimpeded and was clearly the most mature. Really, really good signs to hear that Tom Lynch has had a full run at pre-season, both pre-Christmas and now in 2025 as well. The younger guys, Fawcett, Sims, Kalina and Bauer, seemed to struggle a bit versus the coach. It's a little bit disappointing to hear. And the small forwards were very zippy, chatty, and the finishing was sharp, which consisted of Campbell, Sonsie, Mansell, and Rioli. However, McLuggages did say that with that being said, the intensity for that drill was relatively low and that there wasn't any pressure being applied to the shots at goal. But interesting to see the still persisting with Sonsie in the small forward role. Mansell, no-brainer. Campbell, we all thought would spend time up there, and Rioli as well. But I can see some of those guys pushing through the midfield. It was probably more disappointing to hear about the bigger body struggling against the coaches pushing him out the way and shoving him, especially someone like Kalina and Fawcett, probably in particular, who have got the most size out of all of those guys. But hopefully we see some improvements there. Moving on to the midfield group, McLuggages wrote that he was surprised to see that both Smiley and Lalor were in the midfield group. As sort of a lot like us, he'd heard things about players, some of them being tried at half forward or half back, but they were both in the midfield group and did not move out of there. They did a drill where you would receive a handball and try to evade a tackler. You have a go at both options. And the clear standout was the way that Lalor approached the tackling. He gets low and wide and is going to be a fierce tackler. Looks like he's got the strength to really drive it home and make it hurt, which really stood out in a lot of his Coach League videos, that you knew he could tackle and tackle to hurt. And this is where the comparison to Dusty was never, for me, quite accurate, because as much as we love Dusty and how he played football, the one thing he didn't really do a lot of was tackle. And he got away with it, and we covered for him, and we made it work. But Lalor does love to tackle and tackles with some serious intent. So that's really good to see that he's driving those tackles in. But don't hurt our own players, Lalor. Make sure you go easy on them. But good to see that he's got the right technique and the hunger to tackle, essentially. When it came to the evasive side, Lalor didn't really try to sidestep. He more trusted his strength and hips to get through, sort of similar to like a Cam Rayner was the comparison made. Smiley tried to evade a little bit, but not massively, and raised his hands high to keep his hands free, sort of like what the Bont and Pendlebury do when caught in tackles. The rehab group. So the rehab group consisted of Prestia, Houghton, Fall, McAuliffe, Young, and Lafau. So Prestia back in there, it doesn't necessarily mean, I don't think, if the players are injured. It could be more so a management side of things as well. I dare say that if someone like Prestia was injured in the off-season or in an earlier session, we would have heard about it in some way, shape or form. Houghton obviously recovering from an ACL. I think Fall was still getting back on track. I think he had back issues in this year's draft year. McAuliffe, again, I've heard no word of any injury, unless someone can correct me in the comments below. Possibly he's just managing workload. Tyler Young and Lafau obviously coming back from ACLs. And I did read on Punt Road that Season mentioned that Josh Gibcus had also entered the rehab group as well, which was, I think, and McLuggages acknowledged this as well, there was a nice moment where 30 to 40 of the other players all ran over to the rehab group and gave him a big cheer when I think Gibcus was doing some light run-throughs and getting behind the rehab boys. So that's some good teamwork and good camaraderie to see. But yeah, I wouldn't be too alarmed with the rehab group just yet, unless we heard there were specific injuries to some of those players that we aren't aware of already. The defence group was at the other end of the ground, so we didn't really see anything in particular. Did note that Bolter was out there. They did do some full field sprints as well. And he mentioned that he thinks it was Tom Brown won the second lot of sprints, which was really good to hear for Tom Brown. And then finally, they broke into an almost full field drill. And McLuggages mentioned the highlight was Lawler's cleanness and kicking. He said it's not sure if it's been highlighted here, but he saw Lawler take 4 varied kicks, all of which were drilled/weighted perfectly. He knew he was strong and clever, but didn't realise he looked a very, very good kick as well. And he also thinks he didn't see Lawler fumble once. He was very, very impressed with Lawler. So that is the training report wrap from McLuggages from the Big Footy Brisbane Lions board, posting on the Richmond board. Again, huge thank you, much appreciated. But I think what's most interesting here is hearing that Sam Lawler doing a lot more stuff with the midfield group. Now, I know we obviously drafted him as a midfielder, but coming off the no footy pre-season, coming off the hamstring injuries and things like that, I feel like a lot of us, including myself, thought that he would maybe do a bit more forward work and play half forward. Maybe he's going to get up to speed quick enough to just go straight into the midfield at various stages earlier than we expected. But awesome to hear that he's nailing tackles. Great to hear that he's been clean with ball use, which is exactly what you would come to expect from a number 1 draft pick. And obviously one of the many reasons why we touted him so highly and took him with that number 1 pick. Smiley in the midfield group too. I mean, I don't think this will necessarily happen, but imagine round 1 versus Carlton if they both lined up in the centre square together, maybe not from the opening bounce, but maybe at various parts during the match, just to get a small glimpse into the future of what our midfield mix-up might look like. Really, really promising. So, again, there's our first training report for 2025. Again, huge thanks to McLuggages for posting that on the board. Much appreciated. And hopefully we'll see some photos and some more videos from the club in the coming days and weeks on training. But yeah, good to see the boys back out there working hard. Also, just a very quick reminder that for those in the Casey-Cardinia area, that the Tigers will be doing an open training session on the Tuesday, the 21st of January. It's at Holm Park Reserve in Beaconsfield. Training starts from 2 o'clock, and there's also a kids clinic that runs from 3 p.m. So if you are out in the Casey-Cardinia area, and you've got spare time on the school holidays on Tuesday, the 21st of Jan, make sure you get down to Holm Park Reserve in Beaconsfield. Like I said, training kicks off about 2 p.m. I'm not sure what the car park situation's like down there, but I've been a couple of times before and it does draw quite a decent crowd. So I do suggest getting there relatively early to get yourself a car spot. And with the clinic, it is important to make sure you pre-book on the club's website. So make sure you go to the website. All the links and details are there. They don't accept regos on the day. I'm not sure if they're still taking registrations or not, given this has been up for, I think, since early January. But yeah, make sure you check it out on the club website. But yeah, 21st of January, open session at Beaconsfield, Holm Park Reserve. Make sure you get to it if you're out in the area. And make sure you like and subscribe for more Tiger content in the future. I'll see you for the next one.